I uncovered my mother-in-law's affairs, exposed the truth to my husband, and watched my family shatter. But after that, what happened to my own family was worse than this. I work at my husband's family business, custom home building. It's a legacy company, around 50-plus years strong. I actually met my mother-in-law through work before I ever met my husband. She came into the design firm I used to work at to pick out finishes for a client's home. She and I hit it off right away, one of those rare instant connections. She had a sharp eye, kind energy, and this mix of elegance and warmth that pulled people in. After a few more interactions, she played matchmaker and set me up with her son. Fast forward 7 years, and I'm married to him, and I now coordinate all the builds for the family company. I handle everything from client design consultation to working closely with contractors and vendors, basically juggling aesthetics, budget, and timelines under one roof. My MIL, technically, is still my boss, but we've operated more like equals for a while now. She's been slowly taking a step back from the business, handing over more responsibilities, and I guess in a way, grooming me to eventually run things alongside my husband. Our relationship has always been good. Actually, it's been more than good. She felt like the mother I never got to have. Growing up, my family was a mess in ways I won't unpack right now, but the point is, she filled a space in my life that had been empty for a long time, which makes what happened all the more complicated. Last Friday, I was wrapping up work and getting ready to head home. I was on the phone with my husband, who was at the airport about to catch a flight for his annual guys' weekend trip. I was a little distracted, balancing my tote and laptop, chatting with him as I packed up, and didn't notice I grabbed the wrong MacBook. My MIL's, not mine. I didn't realize it until later that night when I was home and wanted to look up some fixtures for a renovation we're planning in our own house. I opened the laptop, saw it wasn't mine, and texted my MIL right away to let her know. She was casual about it, said, "No worries, I'm unplugging this weekend anyway. Feel free to use it for whatever." So, I didn't think much of it. I was just browsing some design supplier websites, and I clicked a store's Contact Us page. You know how on MacBooks, if your mail app is set to default, it automatically opens a draft when you hit an email link? That happened. I went to close it, and while closing out of the mail app, my eyes landed on an email subject line in her inbox. Our weekend getaway itinerary. It was from one of our recently hired apprentices, a 22-year-old kid. My stomach dropped. I hesitated. For a full beat, I just sat there. I should have closed it. I know that. I absolutely know that. But I didn't. I clicked. I don't even know how to explain what I saw. There were messages. Dozens. Explicit ones. Romantic ones. Messages from him calling her my love. Plans for weekends away. Mentions of things they'd done together. Photos. Not graphic but intimate. And all of it confirmed what my brain was trying to deny in the first few seconds of reading. My married 47-year-old mother-in-law, my boss, my mentor, the woman who introduced me to my husband, is in an affair with our 22-year-old apprentice. I slammed the laptop shut. My heart was racing. It felt like my throat was closing up. I couldn't even cry. I just sat in the dark, staring at the ceiling. My husband was miles away, unreachable in every way that mattered in that moment. I was alone, and completely, utterly frozen. I still haven't said anything to anyone. I keep replaying it all in my head. The conversations we've had. The projects she handed over to me. The way she always defends that apprentice when he's late or messes something up. The way she once told me, "There's something about him. He reminds me of being young." At the time, I thought she meant his ambition. Now I'm wondering if I was just naive. I don't even know where to begin. Do I tell my husband? Do I confront her? Do I pretend I never saw anything and just wait for the whole thing to explode? Because it will. Something like this doesn't stay hidden forever. And when it goes, it's going to take down everything, the company, the trust, our entire family dynamic. But most of all, I keep thinking, who am I loyal to in this? I love my husband. I love this family. And I loved the version of my mill I thought I knew. But now I'm carrying this terrible, awful secret.
And it's heavy.
I don't know what to do. My husband was gone all weekend, and I spent those days spiraling, truly unraveling. I didn't eat much, barely slept, and just kept turning everything over in my head. I kept imagining every possible scenario for what would happen if I said something and what would happen if I didn't. I knew I wasn't going to tell him while he was gone. He was away on a trip he looks forward to every year, and I didn't want to ruin it. But as the hours ticked by, I started dreading Monday more than anything else, because that meant going into the office. That meant seeing her. My mother-in-law. My boss. The woman I used to admire. And that's what happened. Monday came, and I had to go in like everything was fine. I had to sit in that building down the hall from her and pretend that I didn't know what I now know. She greeted me like normal, casual and warm, and I could barely meet her eyes. I found every excuse to hide in my office. Buried myself in paperwork, locked the door under the pretense of needing to focus, and tried to stop my hands from shaking any time I had to send an email. And then today, my husband came home. He walked through the door, and I already knew. I couldn't keep this from him. He could read it all over my face anyway. He didn't even get to unpack before he asked, "What happened?" So I told him. I told him I found out something I wasn't meant to, that I had opened his mom's laptop by accident, and that I saw emails. Emails between her and the apprentice. I told him everything I saw, and everything I pieced together. And I watched his face change, confusion, disbelief, then absolute horror. It was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever witnessed. He sat down on the couch and just stared at the floor. Didn't say anything at first. But then, finally, he said, "Thank you for telling me." He said that not knowing would have been worse. That pretending everything was fine while sitting across the table from them, or continuing to work side by side in the family business like nothing had happened, that would have destroyed him. Then he told me something I didn't expect. He knew more about that apprentice than I did. Apparently, the kid is the son of a longtime family friend. Someone his mom has known for years. She's known him since he was a teenager. Hiring him was framed as a favor, helping out the son of a friend who had had a rough patch and needed some structure. It had seemed like a feel-good, mentorship type thing. My husband said he'd never thought much of it, but now it all felt different. Tainted. He got quiet after that. But then he said, "I'm going to find out everything." He has remote access to the work computers. He's part owner after all. And technically, all the machines are company property. So he logged into hers from his office. He started digging. He didn't want to rely just on what I saw. He needed to see it for himself. And what he found was so much worse than either of us could have imagined. Emails going back over a year with the apprentice. Months before he even worked for us. Romantic language. Flirtation. Photos. Talk of trips. Then, further back, messages from someone else. 2 years ago. A different name. Similar tone. That same secrecy. That same unmistakable intimacy. Then, records of a second phone. Hidden reservations at hotels. It just kept unfolding. He took all of it to his dad. I wasn't there for that conversation, and honestly, I'm not sure I ever want to know exactly how it went. But I know they had it. And I know it ended with them going to get his mom tested. That's how far this went. That's how serious it became. And then, insult on top of devastation. She tested positive. I don't know what to do now. Everything is upside down. The woman I admired, leaned on, worked beside, I don't even know who she is. The family business, the thing we were all so proud of, feels like it's built on sand. My husband is shattered, trying to keep it together for everyone while processing betrayal from his own mother. And me? I'm just trying to breathe. Trying to keep moving forward without falling apart. I never imagined that opening the wrong laptop would change everything. But it did. My father-in-law didn't go home after work that evening. Instead, he came over to our house for dinner. I could tell from the second he walked through the door that something had cracked wide open inside him. The man looked like he'd aged a decade in a day, his shoulders low and heavy, his eyes tired in that deep, heartbreak kind of way. It wasn't anger that came first, it was grief. Like a teenager discovering that the person they loved wasn't who they thought. That kind of stunned, hollow ache. We sat at the table for a long time, just eating slowly, quietly at first, and then he started to talk. He said he'd had suspicions years ago, back when things between them had hit a rough patch. There'd been a fight, brief but explosive, over some messages he'd found. Nothing conclusive, nothing that couldn't be explained away. And when she promised it was nothing, that it would never happen again, he believed her. He dropped it. They moved on.
But now?
Now, there's no room for doubt. There's no ambiguous text message or vague moment that could be brushed under the rug. There are years' worth of emails, photos, reservations, a second phone, and a positive STI test that sealed the deal. He said it's over. He said it with that strange clarity you hear in people who've passed the point of shock and sadness and come out the other side, wounded but decisive. And then he told us something I didn't expect to hear. He has a prenup. A pretty airtight one at that. Apparently, when they first got married and he started building the business from scratch, he wanted to protect what he was building. The prenup states that in the event of infidelity, she forfeits her share of the business. And the house they built together? Also on his side. On paper, this divorce won't be messy. Not legally anyway. Emotionally, though, it's going to leave wreckage in its wake. But in case you're wondering, no. This didn't blow up my marriage. It didn't ruin my career. I came clean to my husband because we don't keep secrets. That's our bedrock. And it turns out when you're honest, when you trust someone and they trust you back, things don't always fall apart.
They shift.
They hurt, but they don't collapse. We talked it all through. Every piece of it. And as painful as it was, it brought us closer. Because the blame? It's where it belongs, on the cheater. Not on the person who found out. Not on the person who told the truth. And my father-in-law? He's not wasting any more time. Shortly after I posted my last update, he confronted her. Walked into their house with a folder in hand. Inside, every screenshot, every email, copies of hotel bills, a printed out list of the second phone's activity. His STI results, their prenup, and the divorce papers. From what he told us afterward, he didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just laid it all out on the dining room table, looked her in the eyes, and said, "I know everything." Then he left. Later, he told us that her face went pale, that she didn't say much, just stood there staring at the pile in front of her like it might swallow her whole. Now he's getting his ducks in a row, making sure every step is taken with precision and care. Because while he may be heartbroken, he's not going to let her drag him down any further. And neither are we. My world has shifted, but it's still standing. And that counts for something. When she saw the evidence, she knew she was caught. The first thing she asked wasn't why, or what. She just asked how he found out. I'm sure she was hoping there was a crack, some way she could explain it away, but my father-in-law didn't give her the luxury of that. He said it wasn't important anymore. It wasn't about the how. It was about what was next. He laid it out for her with a calmness that surprised me. He told her what the divorce process would look like, outlined the steps ahead. He was willing to make some concessions on their prenup if she came clean about everything. He wanted the truth, he wanted it over with, and maybe, just maybe, he thought that giving her a little breathing room would help smooth things over. In a strange way, I think he was still holding on to the person he thought he knew, the woman he loved for so many years. He was so hurt, but he still wanted to care for her. He wanted to make sure she had something, even if that something wasn't what she was entitled to legally. I think deep down, he just wanted to be done with it all. He wanted closure, and he wanted it to happen with as little drama as possible, even though I could see the pain behind his words. At first, she fought it. There were tears, a lot of arguing, and I imagine her whole world was coming crashing down in those moments. But eventually she relented. Maybe she knew she was too far gone, that there was no fixing what had already been broken. In the end, she agreed to step down from the business. She left, packed up, and moved out. My father-in-law, being who he is, offered her spousal support, along with a vacation home that wasn't part of the prenup. He was still trying to be generous, even though everything he'd worked for, everything he'd built, had been torn apart. It felt like he was making the best of a situation where there was no good outcome. Since then, my father-in-law has been spending more time with us, either at our house or going out with my husband. They've been golfing and hiking together, and honestly, it's heartwarming to watch. Despite the heartbreak, I can see the bond between them growing stronger. They're leaning on each other in a way I never expected. It's been rough for both of them, but there's a quiet kind of comfort in seeing them support each other through this. I don't think either of them could have anticipated how much they'd need each other, but it's happening. The hardest part for me has been grappling with the version of my mother-in-law that I thought I knew, the one who was warm, loving, and cared for me like a second mom. It's difficult to reconcile that person with the one who betrayed my father-in-law in such a cruel way. I want to hate her. I want to be angry, and let that fuel the hurt. But part of me still remembers the good moments, the laughter, the connection we had before everything unraveled. I'm struggling with it all. I don't know how to look at her the same way, but I can't control what she's done. All I can do now is be there for my father-in-law and my husband. They need me more than ever. And then, out of nowhere, she reached out to me. She sent a message apologizing for putting me in such a position. She said she hoped we could still have a relationship, but I told her, not right now.
And I meant it.
Right now, my husband is my #1 priority. He's dealing with so much, more than anyone should have to, and he needs me here, right beside him. There's no room for anything else. Maybe in time, things will change. But for now, I'm focusing on my family and letting everything else settle.